Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, guys, to GTS Friday here with your co host, Master Great Jess, with the lovely Saint-ism, right? How are you, man?
Ben, how's it going?
It's going really, really, really well. I am super excited, guys. Today is not like every other Friday where we interview someone. Today is actually going to be the second installment of the GTS Masterclass. So if you guys are here, thank you so much for joining because this is going to be awesome. The Saint has been working on this with me for the last, I don't know, month. Saint, I want to say. We've been working on this. We're trying something. Yeah.
We got a lot of slides for you, man.
Yeah. We try to make it into a short show. Like, we don't know how long it's going to go. All I can say is that you guys are going to learn a lot. And honestly, I can't wait. But before we begin, I want you guys to know that today is Kevin's birthday. So go over and wish him a happy birthday. He is turning 15 years old. I know he looks pretty old, but he's 15 actually. And for everybody else out there, so today's going to be different in the sense that I will not be interacting with the Twitch chat too much as I normally do. Not because I don't like you guys. I love you guys, by the way. It's because we're going to be doing the class. I'll be trying to answer any question that you guys have. So do put him in there, but I can't promise you that I'm going to be super vigilant as I normally am. Another thing, so much, thank you so much to Argama Hobby for sponsoring the GTS Masterclass number 2. If you guys are in Canada or in the US and are looking to get awesome tools or the latest kits, go check them out at argamahobby.com. Another real quick thing, I know you guys are like, hurry up, shut up, and let's go to the class. And so it probably, Saint is thinking the same thing. But one more thing, towards the later half of the show, the Saint-ism will be showing us live demo on how he edits photographs. So when that time comes around, I will switch back to the 10-minute countdown, but we'll only be gone for tops 5 minutes while I set everything up for you guys. But without any further ado, we're going to start off, and we hope that you enjoy this. And so photography and posing, GTS Masterclass with Saint-ism. Thank you so much for being here, Saint, honestly.
You're welcome, man.
So for those who don't know, who is Saint? Who is the Saint-ism? So we have some pictures here that kind of maybe will spark some idea into who the Saint is. Saint, you want to tell us a little bit about the Thunderbolt, your Wing Zero, and your seed kits?
I guess from my point of view, these are probably the most three of my well-known of my pictures. So I built those. The seed kits was something I did back in like 2014. So that was like that kind of era. Thunderbolt, I'm probably most well known for. That's because it's like plastered everywhere on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess most recently, the pink wing Zero.
Yeah.
The galaxy underside. So yeah, you might have seen that on Facebook.
Yeah, I know.
Instagram.
Your Wing Zero is gorgeous, and not to say that the Thunderbolt isn't, but the Thunderbolt is everywhere. And also, everything you do is awesome, man. You have more pictures here of maybe your journey real quick. If you guys missed it, back in Season 1, we actually had Saint come on the show, and we interviewed him, so you guys can go watch that in GTS Season 1. But just a quick recap, this is his progress throughout the years, summarized into what he used to take pictures of and what he takes pictures of now. So can you just tell us real quick a little bit about the first picture that we have on there in front of the computer? Sorry.
So that's my very first Gundam, and I was lucky enough to have like a digital camera on hand because my dad had one, and well, I think that's like a typical of what someone coming into the hobby is like. What kind of typical representation of what someone new to the hobby is gonna take, right? Like they like it's not very well posed. There's like flash turned on, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not very flattering, I guess. So I guess like as time went on, I started experimenting with different things. Like I added a backdrop, and like a better backdrop, and I got a better camera, like a point and shoot one, like this.
Yeah.
That was what I used for my Force Impulse,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got myself a DSLR,
Yeah.
something like this,
Oh my God. Yeah.
and I guess from that RG Gundam on, I guess I just started getting a bit better at like sort of optimizing my my setup, and, like the settings of my camera, and then kind of vibrant color and black style, I guess, is what I'm well known for these days.
Yeah. I mean, you're known. The thing about Saint, and I know he's here, but the thing about you, man, is you're known for your highlights because you are an amazing painter. Like you really are, right? There's no doubt about it. Your highlights, your shading, everything goes well with what you do, and then you round it out with photography, no less. So you might not be a customizer because you don't really custom anything with panel lining, but what you bring when it comes to paint and photography is by far one of the best, and that's why I said it once and I'll say it again. You're one of my heroes in this hobby, and you already know that for a long time. So, but you guys already know who Saint is. Let's jump into the class. This is the reason why you guys are here. What do we have for you guys today? So we're gonna start off with the first thing that you need for photography and posing is a camera. So let's talk a little bit about camera settings, Saint.
So let's start ISO, I guess.
All right.
I guess the point of this section is let's just let you know what's happening like behind the scenes when you actually press that shutter button on your camera, just so you understand like what's going on basically.
Yeah, so here it says intro to manual. So remember, guys, a lot of us, whenever we're taking photos of our Gunpla kits, including me, take photos with our phones, which I have right here. The problem with the phones sometimes is that most phones come with an auto mode, which means that you just take it out and you take the picture and that's it. You don't put a really thought into every other setting that you have. But some phones, like the Note 8, which is my daily phone, comes with the Pro mode, which you can actually mess around with some of these settings to what the phone will allow you to do. But nothing compares to a DSLR. So Saint here is going to explain to us a little bit about that, and we're going to start off with ISO.
So basically, the ISO setting controls how sensitive that sensor is to light.
Mm-hmm.
So you're shooting outside and you're putting on auto. You basically said letting the camera decide like what's best, but at 100 ISO, you will get like kind of the best image quality, but like you can see in that sort of like example, you're shooting outside, it's going to look very dark.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're going to need a lot of light to get something looking at 100 ISO.
Mm-hmm.
The other side is that as you increase the ISO, like start losing a bit of quality. Like you can see like at 3000 E200, it was just starting to get just a bit grainy. So that's why when you shoot pictures at low light with no flash, it can look like super like fuzzy and grainy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I've definitely seen it. Like like you said, ISO all the way at the bottom, which is something that even Justin has told me about. Is ISO at around 800, 600 is what he normally uses. He told me gives you the best quality image, but like you said, you need a lot of light, guys. And then once you start cranking that up, just so you can get a brighter image, you're gonna get all this grainy stuff, and nobody wants to deal with that. But yeah, definitely ISO. Keep in mind. The next thing we have is exposure time, right? All right, let's look a little bit.
So how exposure time works is that it's normally like a diaphragm covering the lens, and when you press the button, it opens up, and then light goes into the sensor, and that's what takes the picture. So what exposure time is, that controls how long that sort of diaphragm is opened up before it closes. Typically, the longer that diaphragm is open, the better the image is going to be. So I've got images of that cosmos. Is that 1/8 of a second, 1/6, and 1/5. Yep. You can see it's just the same image. It's just getting brighter and brighter. That's all.
Yep. So that's 1/5. I know this is f9. What does the F stand for here? Does it also have to do with exposure time?
It's the aperture, which we'll talk about.
Oh, okay. So it's the aperture. See, guys, I'm learning here too. All right. So brighter picture once the exposure time is lifted up. All right. Cool. And then we have aperture. Okay, there we go. I spoke too soon. Aperture.
So aperture. This was like really confusing when I first started, but basically, it's just think of it as how big that sort of diaphragm opens up. So it's expressed as a fraction. So the bigger the number is, actually, the smaller the opening is, and the smaller the number, the bigger the aperture. And what this does is that first it controls the amount of light again going in and hitting that sensor, and the other thing is that you get what's known as like the like focus plane.
Oh, okay. So
in the example,
the
example I've got here, I've got my 00 Gundam, and I've shot it at f2.8, and you can see that even though it's like very close, like the shoulders are kind of out of focus.
Yeah.
Then we've got f9. So now everything's kind of in focus.
Yeah, yeah.
And I did f22, which is a very small aperture. Everything's in focus. In fact, it's so much in focus that you can actually see like the dust in my backdrop.
Oh my god, you're right. And you can see a little bit of dust specks on the kit itself. Like, yeah, no, that's super. That's super in focus. What lens do you like need to get this kind of like focus?
Um, but I think this is a I'm using like a 60 millimeter macro lens. But I mean, you can use like kit lens and kind of get the same result. It's just that macro lenses gives you a bit more like defined quality, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Definition.
Yeah, no, you can definitely tell the difference. So this is what aperture is, and then you were speaking of bokeh, which is something that a lot of people like on their phones, because it gives kind of like that nice portrait look. So the bokeh here,
But if you ever seen that very like the image of the Christmas lights where it's all like blurred in the background, so
yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of a bokeh effect.
Hmm.
Um, that wing zero example, you can see like the wing is like kind of out of focus, and in the H2, like the funnels, that's out of focus as well. So I mean, it just lets you sort of guide your sort of image composition basically.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So this is the little Christmas one, and then I mean this Wing Gundam, the bokeh just kind of tells your eyes what to look at, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it does. And then over here we have something called relationship between aperture and exposure, right?
So both the exposure time and sort of aperture, so they both control how much light is hitting the sensor, because one is like long, how long the diaphragm's open for, and the other one's like how big that gap is basically. So um, what I'm trying to show here is that at f9, so that's like the reference shot, right?
Yeah.
So f9 at a third of a second.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to sort of crank the like reduce aperture to very small,
Mm-hmm.
leave it at 1/3 of a second, so now the image is like very dark.
Yeah.
In order to so when you adjust one, you got to adjust the other. So in order to get the same kind of brightness
Mm-hmm.
at that aperture, you gotta crank the exposure time to like 2 seconds. So it's like 6 times. You gotta the diaphragm has to open up and stay open like 6 times longer than the original f9 basically.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you can't just mess with one, right? You have to mess with both of them in order for them to make to give you the best quality that you can. And for those watching, 1/3 of a second, think about how fast that is, right? 1/3 of a second compared to 2 seconds. Now 2 seconds is really short to relative to what we think of, 1, 2. There you go. That's 2 seconds. But that is way longer than a third, and that's how you were able to reproduce almost the same quality. Of course, you get a little bit more. It's way brighter, but it's because of how much longer it's open, right? Okay.
Actually, like 1/3 of a second's already like it's already like pretty long in terms of photography terms. Like,
Mm. Okay. Well, I mean, there you go. I mean, there's like you said, that's the reference shot, and you get this all in order to show the relationship between both of them and how you need to talk. I mean, sorry, not talk. Sorry, you need to mess with both of them in order to get the best quality image. So this is awesome. This is awesome. If you guys have any questions, remember to put them down on the chat. Like I said, I might not be able to read all of them, but I can definitely still look over on the side. So bokeh, bokeh relationship between aperture and exposure time. But now we got focal length. So let's go to focal length a little bit.
all right, so focal length was another thing that I sort of it took me a really long time to kind of understand the differences. So I'm gonna just give you like the really like layman explanation. It's like the focal length, it sort of equates to zoom
Mm-hmm.
on a camera.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what this does is like it sort of affects how far you can shoot certain things from. So a typical portrait lens is about like 50 to 60 millimeters, and so that sort of guides to like a certain shooting distance depending on your subject, and just um things closer to the lens look larger, and that's why you want to be able to sort of shoot things far enough so that it doesn't look warped.
Mm-hmm.
So on the left side, I've got the impulse, and that's shot at a 60 millimeter lens.
Mm-hmm.
you can see it's like not very it's like very uh kind of look at it as it is. There's no like sort of distortion on the picture.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I took the same picture with a 35 millimeter, and you can see like it's starting to like it looks bigger, like looks more like sort of larger at the bottom than it is at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Because got to get closer to take the same picture, the shorter focal length, and because the camera is closer to the bottom of the kit than it is to the top, the legs kind of look larger, and the head kind of looks smaller, and that kind of gives you that kind of perspective effect, I guess.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so basically, you can use focal length to kind of give the sense of scale, right? Play around with it, right? Give it
And
a little,
I guess in the next slide we'll kind of show you a bit more of a drastic example.
like this one
Sorry,
right here.
do the other one first. Actually. Can you go back?
There you go.
Is your
Oh,
launcher big enough?
oh, okay. So this,
Need a big. So, is your launcher big enough?
that is crazy. 60 millimeter compared to 24 millimeter, and that's
So
how.
yeah. So at 60 millimeters, you gotta like in order to get that framing of that Zeta Gundam,
Yeah.
you gotta like be like I don't know like 30 centimeters away with a very wide angle like angle lens because you gotta get closer. Wide angle can actually see more, so you gotta get closer to take that picture.
Mm-hmm.
When that barrel is almost touching the lens, it kind of looks a lot bigger. You know, it looks hyper mega rather than
Yeah.
just. So that's one of the techniques you can kind of use to make weapons look bigger. Is that you use a very wide angle lens, and then you just try to get that weapon to touch the lens basically.
That's crazy. What do you guys think of this? I mean, look at the difference: 60 millimeter, 24 millimeter, and you can tell a huge difference between both of them. Focal length. How I would have never. I never knew that's what happened. Like honestly, I never. That's crazy.
But thing is like we'll use the mobile phone because the mobile phone lens is like it's quite wide, so it's like typically like 20 millimeters equivalent. So like anyone who's using a mobile phone will never have this problem. Launch is always going to be very big.
Mm-hmm. Ah.
It's only if you're using a DSLR and you got options. That's when I ran into this problem. It was like why is when I'm copying poses, why is my gun looking so damn small?
But it's because of the focal length. That's so cool.
Yeah.
All right.
But things closer to the lens always look bigger. It's just remember that.
Yeah. And then over here we have another example. So this is the distance that you're taking the photos from.
Yeah, so you can see like this is using a wide angle lens again. So if you see how close camera is to the model, then how like how big that beam saber slash looks in proportion to the
Mm-hmm.
to the kit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again like closer objects closer to the camera always look bigger. So if you got a wide angle lens that you can go all the way up to the model, like those weapon effects, those weapons always look much more like dynamic or larger, I guess.
That's so cool. I mean, it definitely gives the picture a different kind of personality, right? It doesn't look as flat. That's the thing. It doesn't look flat. There it is. It gives it dimension.
Exactly.
Right? So, wow. There you go. So this is still focal length, which, in layman terms, the zoom, right? Quote unquote. Really cool. But then we go right into DSLR versus the phone, right?
So I always get a few questions about what's the difference between like a DSLR and a phone camera. So phone camera is usually like the focal length is fixed. You can't really change it. So it's like at least you get what you get basically, and it's typically around like 25 millimeters. But whatever shots you just saw, I think that's what you're gonna get typically.
Mm-hmm.
The aperture you also can't change it because like that's just it's probably just due to like the size of the lens in the camera.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't change it.
Mm-hmm.
It's typically around like f15, so you're not gonna get kind of bokeh effects with smartphone camera.
Mm-hmm.
But in cameras most these days they got like a portrait mode.
Yeah.
And what that does is like it uses like the AI to basically just like kind of hack in the bokeh.
Yeah.
And, you can like change how much blur you want basically. So
Yeah.
like easy hack, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, not all camera apps default have access to that ISO and exposure, but I think you can download third-party apps that let you do that. And I think, as you mentioned, your phone actually, you can change those.
Yeah. Yeah, it's called Pro Mode, and it lets you kind of get into manual mode, and you can change whatever the phone allows you to change, right? So you don't need a third party, which I'm pretty sure the even the iPhones have an option where they can go manual, quote unquote, right? Because, and I say quote unquote because you're not going to get the same options as you will with the DSLR, right? It's completely different. So yeah.
I guess lastly, the sensor is just way bigger on a DSLR. It's like the size of a postage stamp versus like it's a fix your camera on a phone. It's like the size of a pin, basically, right?
Yeah. Now I get it. So there you go. I mean, there's a difference, guys. I mean, smartphones have come a long way. Everybody has a camera in their pocket nowadays, right? But if you still want to go for the best kind of style, you're gonna need a bigger one, right? It depends on how. I would say how hyper focused you are in getting that really awesome picture, right? How dedicated you are.
That's not to say you still can't get a picture of a smartphone. I mean, I'm
No.
just obsessed. I'm just obsessed. That's all.
You heard it here first. He's obsessed. No, and you're right. I mean, one of the people that I know that, and you mentioned them actually, so you won't let me lie because you actually mentioned them, who gets really awesome pictures using their phone is Magic Mike, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Magic Mike always uses his cell phone, and he has amazing pictures. You guys should go check him out. Shout out to Magic Mike. Anyway, so there it is. Intro to manual, right? You guys want to take better photos? Stop depending all the time on auto. Maybe try to learn the pro mode or the manual mode wherever available if you can with a third-party app, or if your phone already has the capability, then go for it. Don't be scared, right? All right, cool. So now we're after the camera, right? After you learn how to play with the camera a little bit, how to take pictures and all of that, we're gonna go right into setup and equipment, right? So setup and equipment, because it's not just the camera, it's how and where you take the picture that also matters a lot. So this is a picture of your setup, see?
So it's like a custom-made photo booth. So my dad built that for me, and it's basically like a 60 cm cube.
Mm-hmm.
I've got so that picture is outdated. So I've got seven lights.
That's a lot.
7 lights and a black backdrop, which is basically just like just like a black cloth, basically. Like there's nothing special about it.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Okay.
And that's what I've been using since 2014. So like there's it's nothing special like Muso black or anything. It's just like black cloth. Come on.
Yeah. Well, okay. To be fair, I was in the market for cloth back in the day before GTS, when I was first trying to start out in the hobby and I was doing things for myself before I really focused on the community. I went out to buy cloth, but you have to choose a really nice black, right? You can't just choose like a gray looking black. You can't choose the darkest black. Like, I mean, yes, it's nothing special, but there is. I want to say there's a little news. Like, there's something to it.
I just don't choose something that's shiny because I think that kind of messes up the picture a bit. Like it's a bit distracting. Yeah.
Yeah, and real quick, actually, happy birthday, Magic Mike, aka Shannon Tatum. Apparently, it's May 1st already over there in the Philippines, and it's his birthday today. So happy birthday, man! Hope you have a great one. Hope you're. Thanks for joining us today and hanging out with us with the class. Anyway, sorry, Saint. So yeah, so you have 7 lights. That's crazy, dude. That's.
Yeah. So I mean, like. I started at 4, so 2 at the top, 2 on the sides.
Yeah.
And like as time went on, I just felt like a bit dark. Just if you feel it's a bit dark, just add more lights. or you can change the exposures, but really what this does like it's kind of changing what the shadows look like on your model, I guess. So it's really up to your personal preference, I guess. Like.
Well, that's why your pictures looks like the kid is lit in every direction.
Pretty much. So like. It's like got so much light, it kind of gives it like kind of ethereal look, I guess. So,
Yeah.
If you want something more moody, just turn off the lights on less lights, turn off the lights on one side. So you can it's an artistic preference, I guess.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. I feel one of the more dramatic uses of or people out there with an example of dramatic light is Justin, right? Studio G likes to take a lot of dramatic kind of pictures. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a setup, right? So this photo booth, if I'm not mistaken, was built for you by your dad, right? Really cool.
Again, same photo booth for 7 years now. So it broke, don't fix it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So now we go to outdoor shooting, right? A setup. So it depends on where you're going to take the picture. We're first going to start talking a little bit about outdoor shooting because some people do like to take pictures of their kits out in wherever they are, right? Not exactly in a studio. So let's go into that a little bit.
But we're just gonna gloss over this outdoor shooting section because I have much experience with it. But we're just letting you know that it's possible and you can get some pretty good results.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Naoki. He's a pretty famous Japanese model, and he's like his gimmick nowadays is like to take outdoor shots of his kits.
Mm-hmm.
You can see like it looks pretty good. There is some artistic direction here, and like because it's shot down low, so you get this really nice sense of scale.
Mm-hmm.
The skyworks is a really good backdrop.
Yeah.
You're obviously getting. I guess the only downside of shooting outdoors is like you're just gonna get whatever you get with the weather, I guess. as you can see here.
Yeah. Whatever Mother Nature wants to give you.
Yep. And if you want to go to the next slide. So this is Josh Adara. He's like GBWC Australia 2015 winner, if I'm not mistaken. So also was like the pictures of his strike and synergy. Like, I guess they're pretty famous. Gone the rounds on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And if I recall, he was saying that he went up to like highest level of a open roof car park. He put the model on his car. The roof of his car, and he was just taking pictures against like a clear sky, and that looks really good. Like,
yeah,
you get like natural shadows, like.
Oh man.
And I think it mentioned it was quite challenging to sort of get like a clear sky, so like like no clouds or especially buildings. Like you want it to be clear.
Yeah.
You don't want anything to sort of ruin that sense of scale.
Yeah. No, I mean, Josh Adara, he was on the show last season. If you guys want to go check that out. No, these pictures are really famous, right? And he did a great job with these, and I love the story behind of how he got this picture for a strike. But this is outdoor shooting, right? This is something that some people like, and I think somebody says it looks huge, right? So working with natural lighting outside with the backdrop, the sky, it kind of gives another sense of scale, right?
You can see Sinanju, it's kind of like got a different lighting. So I guess at that time when he was shooting that, like you just get whatever light like there at the time, I guess.
Yep.
Again, shot from underneath. There's no like buildings in the background, so you can't tell that like it's a small Gunpla. You get that nice sense of scale, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, there it is, man. Beautiful work by Josh Adar. So there you go. I mean, you guys can take photos almost in any place and get really awesome pictures, right? To go with that. So that's outdoor shooting. But let's go into some a little bit about lights, because if I'm not mistaken, somebody mentioned here that lighting is what I struggle with the most. That's what Anubis said. So let's talk a little bit about lights.
So when I first started out, I didn't have a booth. So these kits were like from 2005, 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just taking the picture of like opposite a window. I guess I'd say it's a bit underexposed.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible. You can probably fix it up a bit in post, but yeah, it's still possible.
Mm-hmm. And then, so we're gonna fix them in post, you said?
You can.
Oh yeah.
In terms of lights, I'm just using clamps, and they're nothing special. That's the bulbs I'm using, and I guess when you're choosing a bulb, look at what kind of lumen output it's giving.
Mm-hmm.
Because that tells you how the wattage is kind of accurate nowadays, because LEDs have like equivalent wattages to like bulbs. So what you're looking for is like the lumen count, and that tells you how bright that bulb is. And I think that's like 1400 lumens, and I'm using 7 of those. So just keep in mind that like that's what I'm using as a reference to what you might be getting, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it also works with the temperature too, right? Because you want white lights. That's what you use.
Yeah, so I guess natural light is like what 5600 Kelvin or something.
Hmm.
It's very hard for me to find those kind of bulbs, so I just go to the next best thing, which is like a cool white, I guess.
Hmm. Hmm. So there you go. You don't
I
want.
think that's 6000, I think.
Yeah, because even like with the ring light that I have over here, it goes into super cool white and then warm white and then turns into like really warm. It looks orange, right? So it's also something you got to play around with. Also artistic touch if you like having that orangey look. Depends on what you want, right? Depends on what you want. But that's what he uses. And then we go into backdrop, right? Because backdrop is super important, especially in what kind of attitude you want to give to your kit in this case. So we got your wing zero
Yeah,
here.
so I think the purpose of a backdrop is just like you want to remove distractions in your picture.
Hmm.
Um, you don't want to put anything. You don't want to be able to see anything in the pictures that can give the indication of how big or small your Gundam is. Because if you do, it's like the illusion is lost, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Right.
So this picture, I'm just using like a piece of it's just like a blue piece of cardboard that's like two size.
Hmm.
What you do is if you want to get the infinity effect, just take your paper and you just kind of gently bend it like that.
Hmm.
You don't see any creases.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of like what you have with your cloth, right over here. It's
So you can use again like when you use the cloth, you just slowly bend it so there's no creases, and then you get that nice infinity effect. You
very
can't see the edge.
very nice. Yeah, the infinity effect is super important. A lot of people use it for professional photo shoots, right? There's like studios that are actually just based around the infinity effect, right? Kind of gives
Exactly.
a sense of depth. Okay, cool. And then we go into booth setup. So now let's talk a little bit about the booth that people normally have. A lot of people tend to buy light boxes from Amazon and things like that. So we can talk a little bit about the indoor box or booth setup.
So if you want to get a bit, I guess, more controlled environment, when you start thinking about getting a booth, um, there's lots of like kind of pre-built solutions you can get on Amazon.
Hmm.
So um, I think that's like a folio or something at the top.
Hmm.
Credit, excuse me. Credit to Holocaust. So
Hmm.
for sharing this image,
Hmm.
and it's basically just like a small. It's like a small cloth box, and you put lights on either side, and um,
I think
I
that's
think for that price, you can get some pretty good results. It's just that how big of a booth you can get because bigger booth lets you sort of do like more flying poses and stuff without being able to see the slides.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So that's
Um,
with that. So and then we have another booth here.
so shout outs to AI Paintworks for letting me borrow his image.
Hmm.
Um, a follow up on the Instagram. So he's got a booth here, but in this example, he's just using natural lighting with no lights at all.
Yeah,
As
there's
an example, and you can see the image is kind of dark.
yeah.
You can still fix it in post, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. It also, I kind of want to mention something real quick. So when we're talking about post and we're talking about manual mode, it's also important kind of the format that you take the picture in, right? Because I don't know, maybe do you work with raw footage or?
Um, just use the JPEGs. I find RAW a bit it's super overkill. Like like just so much work working with RAW. So I just take both. I archive the RAWs and I just work with the JPEGs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There we go. All right, cool. Well, I mean, there you guys go. I mean, this guy here, AI Paintworks, go check him out on Twitter. He's using no lights, just natural light from the window. This is what he got, fixed post processing, and he has amazing. Like, this is a really nice picture and really nice lighting. All right, natural light. Um, okay, cool. So then we go to something that a lot of people talk about, but it's very important, and it's a tripod.
Yep. So tripods, two main uses. First is that it keeps your camera steady, those super long exposure shots. So if your picture was, let's say, a bit dark, and you want to make it a bit brighter, you have the option to crank up your exposure for like 2 seconds, and you're not going to shake the camera and get a blurry image.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the other use is that it lets you kind of save state frame. So if you want to like modify a pose, it's like holding your camera there, where you can go and adjust your model,
Mm-hmm.
to cater for that same frame, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you touched on the tripod, because, like I said, not a lot of people speak about it. But when you're trying to get a little bit more professional photos in general, you don't want to move your camera, just like Saint said, right? Because in pictures, you will notice that slight kind of movement. It'll look a little bit fuzzy, even if you can't see it immediately. Once you zoom in and start editing, you're gonna notice it. You're gonna be like, I wish it was still. So it's always nice to get yourself a tripod or anything that can hold your camera steady, including your phone, right? So tripod is definitely something that is very important when it comes to what level you want to take your pictures to, right? So that's the tripod. Then we go to the diffuser. So here we go.
So the thing with lights is that you don't want to shine them straight at your model, because that light's very harsh, and you get like get overly like the light basically kills any detail in your image. Plus,
Mhm.
like the shadows become really super harsh.
Mm-hmm.
So what you want to do is make the light go through something first. So like I use like as you can see, I just use like white cloth.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is that when the light just goes through, it kind of just scatters it and makes everything a bit more soft.
Mm-hmm. This is super important, guys. Diffusing light is so important. Like, okay, look, I'm not at the level that Saint's at, but if one thing I've learned throughout my 1 year in this hobby now, almost a year and a half, is that diffusing light is important, because once you start getting that harsh light, you start creating, it doesn't matter, it's not the light that really matters, it's the harsh shadows that you get along with it, how shiny and reflective the plastic is. It depends a lot. So if you're having trouble with lighting, maybe look into getting a diffuser, or even just using like a white shirt. That's what I used to use. I used to literally wrap my white shirt around my my lamp, which I actually have back here if you guys can see it. I would wrap it around there and then put it on top and try to get that dramatic kind of picture the way Justin taught me, but it's because I was using a diffuser, so it wouldn't get super harsh. So diffusing light, super important. I'm glad that Saint is touching upon this, and of course he would, because he knows what this is about.
Don't burn your house down, right?
Yeah. All right, and then we got reflectors.
Yeah. So quickly, so you can also make like kind of less harsh by like bouncing it off something, or let's say you only like have one light, and for some reason you can get another. What you can do is you kind of just put like a white piece of paper like opposite your light, so it's just kind of like kind of get like kind of bounce back from the other side, to like even out the shadows a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just
so
no, go for it.
that picture in the bottom right, I'm actually just using a piece of paper, the reflector, and I'm literally standing there trying to bounce the light into the eyes into the eye stickers, just so it like lights up.
Yeah.
Like you'd be surprised how much a white piece of paper can actually how much light you can actually get off of that.
So, I mean, all of this has to do with lighting, right? Like, it's so important, and the little funny things that you can do, especially with the lighting the eyes. Because I know, I don't know if you've had this question asked to you, but I'm pretty sure you have, where people ask you if you have LEDs in your kits.
I do not. I use the sticker, and it just happens that my lighting setup happens to catch whatever the 7 lights I'm using.
Yeah.
That's why I have 7 lights. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's all just lit with lamps, and it just happens that the eyes catch the light, and it looks really nice. Like,
Well, there you guys go.
so I guess, yeah, if you want to do outdoor shooting, maybe bring like a reflector along, just because you can bounce the sun off the other side, just to like even out your lighting, I guess.
Yeah. Actually, that would make sense, and then you would get rid of the. I'm going to go back to outdoor shooting, kind of the shadow right in the front, but also. I do want to kind of remind you guys that it's how Saint said, it depends on what artistic thing you want to give your photos, right? Like maybe this person here, I forgot his name, Naoki, likes to have the harsh kind of dramatic effect of the front part being kind of dark. You know what I mean? So there you go. But with all of this, taking all of this into account, there are some things that we can fix, right? We can troubleshoot some things. So let's go a little bit into the troubleshooting here, along with the image of your strike.
So please don't use flash, because that's what harsh lighting does to your photo. It just looks like a white puddle basically. Like.
Yep.
And you can see the shadow at the back. It's like, oh my god.
Super harsh.
So I guess in the manual section you learned about ISO and exposure. So typically, if your image is too dark, you can add more lights, or you can make the exposure time go longer, or increase the ISO. Like you can go up to a certain point in the ISO, and you're not gonna lose gonna be the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess of your exposed image, well, think about decreasing the ISO, or rearranging your lights, diffusing it more, or turn down your exposure time.
Yep. And then we have blurry image here, which is decrease exposure time and use tripod, right? Like,
so because specifically when you have a very long exposure time and you shake the camera, that's what causes you a blurry image.
Yep. So tripod, something that you guys need to have, even just a tiny one, anything to keep. I mean, sometimes you don't even need a tripod. It depends on where you're taking the photo. Sometimes I would just put my phone down and would have something holding it and play. So it wouldn't move at all. That's what I would do. But there you go. I mean, this is the setup, right? You have to take all of these things into account. But I just want to also mention what he said already, which is do not use flash. Do not use the flash. Like just
anytime flash is used in studio photography, it's actually shooting backwards into an umbrella. Like you notice, it's not shooting at you. Like,
so it can like drop the light on you.
Can diffuse the light basically. And make it fire.
Yeah. Do not point it and just do it. But all right, so that's the setup, guys. Now I know we've been talking about cameras and all of this a lot. Now we're gonna get into a little bit more here, which is another thing that Saint is known for, which is his posing, right? So we're gonna talk a little bit about where you can get ideas from posing and all that. So let's go into it. Where to get post ideas.
So all the poses I use, I can't really take credit for. Like I use a lot of references. So firstly, like the promo images that come with the kit. So those are the free, right? The promo images, the images in the manual, box art. So those are just like free for you to take, I guess. Like the Bandai just giving those to you.
Yep.
If you want to do a bit more work, usually in the anime, there's like typically like sort of iconic poses that you can associate it with any kind of any particular mobile suit. So the Gundam's got the last shooting, as you can see there. Sometimes I'll run through clips of the anime and I'll watch like fight scenes, and I'll just like save parts of like I'll just freeze frame it.
Yeah.
Like that Buster Gundam up there. And that Barbatos. And then whatever you see that looks good. So I play a lot of video games, and I think last year when FF7 came out, I was looking at Cloud, swinging his Buster Sword around. It's like, hey, that looks really nice when he's doing that cross slash pose. Even when he's fighting normally, like when he's holding that Buster Sword and swing it around, I think like Barbatos would look really good if you could like just have a look at freeze frame certain images and just sort of copy those. And this movies, video games, like we've got Virgil there. So if you got like a red frame, or what else is katanas?
The Barbatos also has a katana. The Master Grade Barbatos. The
Virgil from Devil May Cry.
Of course.
You've got Caitlyn there from League of Legends. So if you got like guys with sniper rifles.
Got Caitlyn right here. Yeah, you're right. And then over here, where is this from? I don't know where this guy's from.
I have no idea. I just found this on Pinterest and like, okay, looks good. I'll save that.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, you can get references for everywhere, right? Of course, you can get references from the man himself. You can go over to his Instagram and look at his pictures, or go over to his website and look at his pictures too, which is where I started, was copying his poses, to be honest. No shame, right? I started by doing that. But then slowly, like even with the red frame, I know a lot of people, including me and my wife, like to kind of look at Rurouni Kenshin for
yes.
for posing, right? Because of the katana, do a little bit of the hits and Mitsurugi style and all of that stuff. But yeah, anywhere can be kind of, the place to get the idea for a pose. And even when I saw this picture and Saint put in League of Legends, I was like, whoa, like I didn't think about that, because League of Legends has so many awesome splash arts, and they have a variety of weapons that you can kind of put together with Gundam and try to copy that pose itself. So there's a lot of things that you can use, and I know there's a lot of people that you can follow. In this case, you have some references here of the people that you like to look at for their posing, right?
So let's go down the list. So first is Action Man 32. He's on Instagram and Facebook. So Adrian, thank you. G Talia, again on Facebook and Instagram. Lightning Ace. So he's like the OG Gundam pose guy, I guess. So I've been following him for like since 2014, and like I save all of his stuff. Literally, like it's like thank you, dude. Like it's like do what you do so I can keep doing what I do. Another one I found recently was Rotary Red.
Okay.
A toy photographer from China. I think you follow him as well, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I just found him recently.
Yeah.
We've got an up and comer chasing through the decade. I found him recently on Facebook, and he's got some really good work too.
Okay.
Yeah, Lightning Ace has a blog, so please go to his blog. He's got lots of poses for lots of kids.
Yeah.
Very valuable reference. Like I cannot say that enough. Like I will bend the knee to these guys basically.
For Lightning Ace, and then we got 0508BK201.
Yeah. So another Japanese toy collector on I just discovered on Twitter. He's really good. Like if you look at that image in the bottom right, got the good poses, and then like he's actually like gone and like drawn all the lines of how to like actually do those.
Yep. I remember. I'm glad you actually posted this because I didn't know. I have this saved on my phone ever since it came out, and I wanted to know who did it, but since it was in Japanese, I couldn't get anybody to tell me. But if this is the guy, awesome, man, because this is so well made.
Follow, retweet, and like all his stuff, so you can keep making it.
Oh, I will. Now I'm gonna go check him out. I cannot believe. I'm so glad that you actually put him here because now I know who it is and I can check out their stuff because this is really well detailed. Kind of goes.
Even if you can't read Japanese, you can kind of get the sense of what's going on. Like,
Yep. And I think it was even posted on Reddit at one point, which is I think where I found it.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. And then we have more, which is your right here. I used to hate Pinterest. Now I use it to look for posing and for ideas because you were the only person to get me to use Pinterest.
Dude, so I like all these images. When you collect them, it starts getting a bit out of context. So like I had to create like a Pinterest boards just to sort everything out. Just so like when the time comes for me to actually do that kit, I got good organized basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like the more pictures you collect, you kind of need to start doing this. Otherwise, it just becomes a bit of a mess.
Yeah, you got to start organizing, documenting. So that's so cool.
It really is how much work you want to into this side, I guess. Like,
yeah. No, it makes sense, right? It's how dedicated you are. But I mean, these are all amazing sources to get posing ideas, right? But enough of where to get the ideas because as we can tell now with Saint, you can get them anywhere. There's literally no excuses where you can say, oh, I don't know where to get my ideas. There are millions of places where you can. But then comes the question, okay, I have the post here. Maybe sometimes I don't want to look. How can I create my own dynamic poses, right? How can I copy them to make it? There's something I'm doing wrong, right? Please teach me how to post. Well, what makes a good post, Saint?
Actually, you have to think really hard about this. Like, what makes a good pose, and like maybe you get your opinion first. Like, what makes a good pose? Like,
for me, a good pose tells a story, and not like a story like an Oscar story. I'm talking about like, it tells what's happening. It gives fluidity. I'm in love with the human body, so being able to see people who can pose their kits in such a way that it feels like that there's an actual human being inside of it. I know it's a suit that is driven. but just kind of fluidity and kind of giving it that dynamic look. That's what I feel is a good pose.
So, like when I thought long and hard about this, like these are the points I kind of came up with, and
Mhm.
this is like it's natural. Like so, you can't. The mobile suit is sort of yeah molded around like the human bipedal form. So you can't make it do things that it's not physically possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can sometimes bend limbs out of like impossible angles. So first it's got to look natural.
Mm-hmm.
Second, it's got to have a dynamic. It's got an action line. You can kind of tell what's happening
Mm-hmm.
in that picture. Don't forget that these machines are like super heavy, right? So when you move a pose, you got to think about like the balance of what's going in that pose. Like even the weapons have weight, right? So like if you have your model carrying a really heavy weapon, like make it look like it's carrying a heavy weapon. Like make it have its knees bent, like some weight.
Yeah.
And I put that example of that GM colony box. I mean, like, it's not crazy. It just looks like it's shooting a gun, and it looks convincing. It's not like super dynamic or anything. It just looks nice and simple, and you can tell what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, that's the least you can ask, right? It looks natural. If I was a big mech, how would I be holding a gun, especially at this size of a gun, right? Because it's not a huge gun either, just a normal one. How do I look? Well, there you go, right? And I think the most important part of this, and sorry to interrupt, is the leg, leg placement.
Exactly. Is
Right.
it bent? It looks like it's like bracing. There's like it's adding the recoil.
And then you said you can clearly tell direction of movement, right? What is happening at the moment and what will happen next, right?
So G Talia, he did that blitz, I believe. So you can kind of tell like falling down, flying to the bottom left, and he's shooting his gun. So like what's more can you ask for? Like
Yeah, it's like either dodging or moving really quick over there. It's something's going on, but it's telling you exactly what's happening in that. And that's you're right.
and you can tell it's moving in that direction to the bottom. You can tell what it's doing.
Yeah, and it's got weight to it, right? The way it's kind of posed. So then, what makes a good photo then, right? What makes a good photo when it comes to posing? So let's look at this a little bit.
So what do you think about my paint scribble?
So this is one of the most beautiful paintings I've ever seen. I'm sure you can sell it for $1 million if you can explain it.
FT, dude.
Yeah.
I'll be rich tomorrow.
Yep. There you go. So this scribbles.
Yeah. So again, like, what makes a good photo? Like, it's so subjective, right? I had to think really hard, like, as to what makes a good photo, and the only answer I can kind of come up with is that it's easy to look at. Is that something you agree with, or?
Yeah, no. A good photo cannot be super busy. Like if we're talking about the context of Gunpla, is that what we're talking about? Because of course,
Just in general, I mean.
oh, in general, yeah. I mean, honestly, reading your points, that's what I would go for. Easy to look at. Elements are arranged, has interest. The composition, I would say yes, but I don't understand composition a lot. I understand like the basis of it, but I definitely go with the easy to look at. I think that's the most important thing. It's easy to look at, easy on the eyes.
I guess the what position is sort of it's like that's what you're trying to make it an image looks like easy to look at, and it's because you're taking a picture now, right? So I guess like certain principles of art also apply, and I didn't sort of don't understand this until I looked this up for the slides. Those are the principles of art that I got. I'm not sure if it's universally accepted, but
Yeah.
these kind of things is like what kind of contributes to making a good looking picture, I guess.
Yeah.
Good. Then balance, emphasis, contrast, harmony, variety, movement, proportion, scale. If you want to learn more about those, please Google principles of art. You get a way better explanation than what I'm glossing through right now, I guess.
All right, well there you guys go. I mean, this is what what should be taken into consideration in his own opinion for good looking picture. And he has an example here with his scribbles, which he has hard to look at. So this is hard to look at, right? You look at it, you don't really know what's going on, right? Right. So how do we go about fixing this, Saint?
All right. So if I put like a pink dot there, does that help you like look at this like like drill basically?
Yeah, because when I look at this original photo, I don't know what I'm looking at, right? I mean, yeah, of course, obviously it's scribbles, but there's really no direction, right? I don't know what's going on. You put a
You don't know
point.
what don't know where to look basically. Yeah.
Exactly, right? And then when you put a point on there, a focal point in this case brings order to chaos. So as I look at this, my eyes immediately dart right into the pink dot, right?
Because it's interesting. It's this contrast. Like it's naturally like you want to look at the most interesting thing on the picture. So that because the pink dot is there, it's the only interesting thing, and therefore you're more inclined to look at that.
Yep. Yep. So there you go. Right, easy fixed. But how can we put this all into the Gunpla, into the associate this with Gunpla? We'll get into that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about what tools do we have in order to get this nice, interesting picture. So what tools do we have here?
Right. So I would say you've got your leading lines. So usually those are like your limbs or your weapons. So that's how you pose them and how they sort of flow on the image.
Mm-hmm.
Got your focal points or focus points, and that's typically where all your lines are sort of pointing to. So again, like if you have all the lines on your picture pointing to the same place,
Mm-hmm.
they all meet. It's typically the most interesting place. So your eyes will naturally get guided to that place.
Yeah.
You got your silhouette. That's just how your overall the outline of your pose looks on that particular frame, and we'll talk about that a bit. I think that'll be a bit more clear when the slides come. Lastly, as the bokeh effect, so we learned that if you blur certain things out, whatever is the most detailed, you will look there. So that's a good use of yet another tool, I guess.
All right. So these are the tools that we have. Let's first start off with leading lines. That's the first one on the list that we have on here. So these are the lines right here.
So this picture of the Hyakushiki crash. So when I was sort of planning it out, you can see the lines. It's all leading to like kind of one place.
Yeah.
And like the combination of short and long lines is what makes something interesting. So I guess like when everything points to that one place, it's like it's like like look here. The longish lines sort of lead your eyes in, I guess, and just help you focus.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned
Yeah.
when you said leading lines before that the leading lines in Gunpla would be the limbs, right? So there's a good example of this, right? We have the shoulders, the gun in this case, and the legs, right? Because the legs will always be longer than everything else when it comes to kits, right?
You notice like one leg is folded in, so it's not like sticking out and making like the it's not like it's kind of like not how do you explain this? It's not the same. It's not the same length as the other leg, and it's fitting in frame. So it's kind of making it interesting having like those contrasting different lines, I guess, different lengths.
Exactly, right. So it's like you said, it's a combination of short and long, right? You don't want to have everything long, and it kind of gives another point of interest, seeing that it's folded in, right? But then we have this section here called more on lines, and here are another examples of your lines here, right?
So in the GPO1 example, you can see like the gun and both legs kind of all pointing. It's all arranged nicely, so it looks like a nice arrow going up in like that upward right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of gives it that energy that it's like moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other use of lines is that you'll notice that and the shield kind of like parallel.
Mm-hmm.
This sort of helps you frame what's see a picture framed as like what's more interesting. So like between the arm and the shield is like the head.
Mm-hmm.
So head's got the the nice camera glow. So hey, it's most interesting part will look like look here basically.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. Parallel, we got an arrow. Like you said, leading lines do exactly what they are named, which is they lead you. They kind of point your eyes on the interesting of what you want people to focus on, right?
Exactly.
And then over here we have what is this? The strike again?
This is the Destiny.
Destiny.
So this is a simple one. This is like an X shape, right? And this is really easy to do with like those kids with like gigantic backpacks. So you just make an X shape. It's super easy. Like
Yeah. Just make an X, guys. In fact, I remember when I first read about the X shape, it was on your blog, First time I ever read of that, and that's super cool to see it in action again, and the explanation that goes with it. It kind of tells me to look at the body. I'm not looking at the limbs, I'm looking at the body and the head, right, which is where the lines are telling me to go, right. So really cool principles to put into work in order to get that nice pose. So with that said, let's go on to the next one, which is focus and focal points.
So as you previously mentioned, so where all the lines kind of converge, because it gives the image like most interest, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So we already talked about parallel the framing. So in this example, beam saber slashes that kind of like I guess you kind of roughly parallel with each other.
Mm-hmm.
It makes kind of like this nice box that right here. Please look here. Here's the most interesting part. So like eventually. The idea is to guide your eyes up into that spot, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you're doing as the artist taking the photo or the photographer, is that you're telling people what to look at, right? Kind of give them a sense of direction, right? And then we have over here Katarina, right?
So, yep. Katarina from LOL. So,
yeah,
again, like, sorry. Creds to Artgerm. So, he's like my favorite artist, I guess. Wish I could draw like him. But like you'll notice the way she's holding her knives, and it's like making this kind of nice picture frame. So like this is like the most interesting part of the image. Please look here.
Yeah, it's like a little box, like you said, right here. A little box right here, framing her face, right?
And even inside that box is another box, like between the knife and her arm, right? So.
You're right. Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so it's about working with those lines, guys. Using the limbs in this case because we're working with a humanoid form, right? So there we go. Yeah. Kind of telling people where to look at. Then we go into another one. It's a little bit, I feel, for me when I looked at this, was a little bit more difficult to kind of understand. There's the silhouette, right? So this is the concept of the silhouette here.
Yeah. So those two Gundams, do you know which ones they are?
This is the RX-78-2. And I would say this is... I don't know which one this is.
Alright, so that's the GPO one.
Okay.
So the idea that you can tell what the RX-78-2 just by looking at the outline of the RX-78-2, that's what a silhouette is, right? So
yeah.
Things that are immediately recognizable just by the outline.
Mm-hmm.
You got examples like like Mickey Mouse. You can tell it's 3 circles. Oh, it's Mickey Mouse.
Mm-hmm.
So same kind of thing applies when you're trying to like craft a good photo, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That you want a strong silhouette for whatever pose you're going for.
Of course. So we have an example here, right? This is the diver ace.
So that's 00 diver ace,
Mm-hmm.
and for some reason when I was taking pictures, I decided to take this particular one for some reason. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty good pose. Like when you look at it, it's like he's running towards you and trying to slash you. But
yeah.
something about it kind of bothered me, and I didn't really realize it until I started thinking about it in context of this show.
Mm-hmm.
That when you just look at the outline of it, it doesn't really look like you can't tell what's happening. In my opinion.
Yeah. You can't. You really can't. I mean, this gives context. This over here looks just like a bunch of shapes, right?
Base banana.
But then we change it to this.
Yeah. So I just shot this picture from like a different angle, and from this angle, like it looks better because you can kind of got a bit as to what's happening. Like you can see the fingers, you can see the legs properly.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel that like when I saw this example, I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. I hope it makes sense to you too. Like.
Mm-hmm. No, it does. It does, because now I can, even over here, I can see the hands, I can see the knee, or what would be the leg, but I would guess that the leg is inside of here. This is definitely a leg. This is a wing or something like along those lines, and this is definitely a sword. So I can tell now what's going on, as opposed to when I go back over here, I can't tell. And maybe I can make out this to be a sword, but I don't know what else this is, right? This is somebody or something, but I don't know exactly what, right? But then we go into the next one here, which we have testing the silhouette.
Yep. So I mean, I don't do this personally, but it's an easy way to sort of just check how what your silhouette looks like. Is that you open like a something really bright on your monitor. So I'm using Notepad, and then you dim your lights, and then you just put your model in front of that screen. So all you can see is the outline.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can just kind of check
Mm-hmm.
how this picture is gonna look. I think on there it looks alright. I mean, it could be a bit better. Maybe I would like move the arm at the back just so you can see like the hand a bit more. But yeah, I think it looks alright now.
Yeah, I would move this. I'd probably move the sword and this a little bit further apart so it's not completely a point here because it kind of fades in together. Kind of maybe a little bit more separation. I mean, that's just me, right? But I feel like here you're going before the X pose.
That's right.
Right? So that's what's kind of going on there. But then we have another one here.
The thing about taking a good picture of a pose is that like they don't really translate well into one or the other. So you can have a good pose and it'll look good at like at pretty much at one angle, and you need to really take that picture of that pose at that one angle. The moment you sort of like look at it at a different angle, it kind of like falls apart. So the example here I've got of this Gundam, and I got this as like a promo image from like one of those P Bandai Svel Gundam, and you can see it looks pretty good in the photo, but if you look at it in real life, it's actually like really goofy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see it. As opposed to this one, right? So there's a different angle, obviously taken from a different point, where you can see more of the kit
So this pose only looks good from that very one angle that I'm going for.
Yeah, because you can make out what it is, right? If this were supposed to be like a silhouette, you can tell out exactly what's going on compared to this. It looks weird. This thing's kind of sticking out, right? But then you have also, so I like this here. Good pose is not necessarily equal to good photo, and vice versa, right? Yeah, so that's kind of what we have here. But then we also have hacking the silhouette. So how do we hack the silhouette?
Essentially, when you're taking a picture, you're like hacking the model to make the silhouette you want, that particular angle. So this picture of the Destiny, the very left, it's like the reference image that I'm using, and basically this pose is like he's lunging forward and doing that Palma Fiocchino attack. Then when you look at it from the front, you can see it looks very stubby, so it's not.
Yeah, it does.
From this angle, it just looks a bit weird.
Yeah.
So what you're essentially doing when you're taking a picture is you want to hack your model to get the silhouette you want.
And then we get to this one.
Yeah, and so like fit the frame, I've just made the legs a bit wider. The beam rifle is sticking out a bit more to fit the frame, and I think the wings got a bit adjusted too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
They're just a bit more he's crunching forward a bit more just to make it look a bit to fit the frame a bit better, I guess.
Yeah. And this looks way better. Like we look at all the reference shots here that go from here to here to here. Just the little things that you can do to change and make the photo seem completely different. Right?
The important thing, I guess, is like when you have a picture, you gotta like tailor the pose to fit that frame. You really do it the other way around.
Exactly. And then we have something here: experiment with angles, right?
So I guess my point here is that if you rotate your camera, sometimes you just get a more dynamic result. So in like with our reference image again on the left, but then I tilted the camera, and I sort of feel that this one on the right just gives a bit. The energy is just a bit better.
Yeah.
Like,
and
what do you feel about?
I like this one better too, but for me it's because of the leg. It's the leg and the face itself. The face here looks two-dimensional, as opposed to here where I can see more of the top part, which gives it that 3D form. And the leg is way longer here. I just feel it fits better with the guns, and I can see a little bit more of the gun over here too. So it kind of gives me a rounder image to look at, right? I can actually tell what's going on when I look at it. Of course, if this was silhouette, I wouldn't necessarily see all the detail within. I can still make out what's happening, but now I can see everything that's going on. So yeah, I do prefer this.
That's the same image. I'm just literally like just rotating the camera and just changing the angle I'm shooting at. So
Exactly.
sometimes just be camera and just have a look around.
Yeah,
Just
also yeah, how much
think that's
space you
way.
have in your SD card, right? Just take hundreds of photos. And then we have more examples here, which is just you tilting and changing the angle a little bit, right?
And like it's that small tilt. I think it like really changes the energy of the overall image. Like I mean, the Mach 2 kick, like one pose it's kind of kicking down.
Mm-hmm.
The other one it's sort of going forward more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then this one, he's just kind of standing there.
Yeah, and then you tilt the camera and suddenly it looks like he's flying, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's a lot of small tricks that you guys can do to make and help your photos look way better. This is awesome information because I guess the point is with the tools that you have on hand, there's a lot that you can do to
It's a slide, dude.
yeah. Wait, what happened?
It's a slide. Go back.
Oh, there's a slide? Did I miss a slide?
Going references.
On references, there it is. Sorry. There you
So
go.
you go and copy a pose. You gotta make sure you like copy the pose as it is and not what you think you see. So shout outs to Gundam EFSF
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook. So I think he was going for the same pose that as the reference image and the one I did.
Mm-hmm.
You can see like like sorry man, you missed the mark by a bit. Like
Mm-hmm.
the silhouette doesn't match, and if you look closely, like the body is like not pointed the same direction,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can tell.
and like the gun doesn't give the you can't see the gun silhouette. So when you go copy a pose, you gotta really like think about that silhouette and go for that silhouette. So you can't just copy what you think you see. Be what is there.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. If you're gonna do it well, right? So just maybe a little bit slight tuning here, and you can get to the reference shot, right? And I like that a lot. Copy what is there, not what you think is there. So something to keep in mind when you're taking photos. I don't think I missed any other slides, right, on this one?
So all good.
All right, cool. So that is just on the silhouette, right? Something that is very important in order to kind of give your picture more of an actual, I guess, stance with the silhouette and the way that you can make things out by just looking, like you said, at the outline of it. But we also have the bouquet here, right?
But we've already touched on this, so we'll be real quick. So
Yeah.
basically, bokeh, you want to just blur out parts of the image, so it just helps viewer focus on the most important.
Yeah.
So, in the example up above with the H2, so it's got funnels flying out. Then those funnels are just window dressing, right? You don't really want to look at them, so you can use like the bokeh, just like to blur them out a bit, and then it just makes things less. It makes things easier to look at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because these are not points of interest. These are just there for just give.
Those are just there to um. If you notice the way they're arranged pointing straight into the image as well. So
Mm-hmm. It's kind of just shooting forward. Yeah, it gives it that action, right? That is needed. So these are the tools that we can use to pose to get a nice looking picture. But then we have something called the action line, right? So what is the action line?
yeah, like again, like this, I was searching for like this phrase for so long. I just like again, I found it. It was in the process of like writing these slides.
Mm-hmm.
And action line is like it's like a really common thing in like figure drawing, basically, because if you want to plan a drawing and have your characters look like it's like clearly doing something,
Mm-hmm.
it needs to have a action line, and the action line is something like it's just like lines that can easily break down the pose into a few lines, and you can tell what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So there you go. And then this is the same guy from Japanese, I think you told me, from Twitter, right? Awesome.
So those guy doing the axe swinging pose, like you can sort of break down his action into a few lines, and you can in that sense you can kind of get the sense of like the weight
Mm-hmm.
and what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
just by looking at the lines.
Yeah, just mimicking nature and mimicking the human body, right? Kind of like the one on the over here with the 050, right? I don't know. Action lines are super cool, and I think they should be considered more when it comes to posing because honestly, talk about fluidity, right? This is what fluidity it looks like. Right?
Exactly, and I mean, like when you it's a combination of like bent and straight. That kind of it's like contrast, right? So if everything, if all the lines are straight and the same length, that's not interesting. Not like
Mm-hmm.
all the lines are curved, like it's not interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Have like a bit of both. Yeah.
Yeah. Play with every tool that you have on hand. That's action line. But how about mistakes? So mistakes 101, mistakes that people can make when trying to go and posing their own kits and taking a picture. So here we have the barbatos.
And I see this all the time, and I think a lot of people are getting into the Gunpla. I think one of the first poses they do is like they do the good old point and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
I call it.
Yeah. So this is just the barbatos point and shooting. There's nothing really interesting other than, I mean, it's just a kit with. There's no action to it. There's no. You don't stand like that. So somebody point me to somebody that stands like this, right? So what can we do to fix this? What can we do to fix the barbatos?
Yep. I mean, some of that pose is that you're just not bending enough stuff. I find like the gun probably has weight.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make it look like it's holding a gun that's heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think then if you just spread the legs out and sort of, what did I do in that pose? I just turned the torso,
Mm-hmm.
spread the legs out.
Spread the legs out.
That already. The arm is like kind of to the kind of swung back a bit, just like you have a sense of balance. Like because if you have one arm going forward, normally you sort of balance yourself with the other arm, right?
Yep. And
I did that in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
The difference is like
night and day. with how like the posing is. It's something that you can do so quickly and get such a different kind of outlook, different photo. One thing I am going to point out here, I think, is you're missing a side piece of the skirt.
Yeah, that kid is falling apart,
man. So that's something that you can do, like you said, 5-second thing, and it looks 100 times better already. But what else can we do to get really nice posing? And here we go. This is I love this slide so much, so we can tell how gradually it improves, right? Like doing these little things. So could you walk us a little bit through this, Saint?
So we start off with a good old point and shoot again, and like it's from the first picture to the second one, just rotating the waist, spreading the legs. That is already so much better than like much more of an improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to your third picture where it's like instead of just turning the waist, you have the waist facing forward.
Mm-hmm.
And shooting off to the side, so you're not instead of like doing that, you're like doing like that basically.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And but the other arm is just like crunched in a bit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And what did I do from third to fourth? I rotated the foot.
Rotated the foot. You kind of give him a little lean back, also, kind of like maybe how the weight of the shooting, right?
I think like the so it's like crunched in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Using an ab crunch.
Yep.
And then in the last image, I adjusted the offhand.
And you tucked
so,
in
like,
the arm.
So like tucked in the arm, so it looks like he's really working to like hold the gun and shoot. And one knee's bent just to like give it that sense of weight, like like bracing, shooting and bracing, and I guess like gives it that kind of energy, right? Like it looks like he's holding a gun and shooting it, and when it's shooting the gun, it's like causing force, which his body's got to absorb.
Mm-hmm. This, I mean, it's this is so cool, man. Just seeing how. Like I'm saying, like this is so awesome, right? And so guys, take notes, right? Rotate waist, leg spread to give sense of balance, arm extended to the side, ab crunch, bend one knee, head rotated to match, and then the arm tuck. And then you went from this to this.
all of it's very subtle. It's like you don't have to go crazy with the movement basically.
Yeah,
Even,
no.
even if you bend every joint just a little bit, it adds up. Like
Yep. No action base needed. I mean, this is just him on his two legs, right?
yeah.
Nothing super fancy. So we have another example here with the grace.
So now we got the point and slash, I guess. The typical holding everything at once. Come and get me. Um, what am I doing here? So if you really want to have your kit holding both weapons at once, I don't recommend having it like stick both arms out like that because that's off balance. So the second image, like so maybe if you want to hold both at the same time, have it off to the side. At least it's like feels like you can do that in real life.
Yeah.
Um, There's a few more examples. Like the third one, he's like, it's I guess like what I'm trying to go for is like like he's kind of walking towards you.
Yeah, that's what he looks like. Yeah, especially with he's gonna attack you with the axe first. I feel.
Yeah.
Right.
So the fourth one, if you want the kind of a more heroic, holding both weapons at the same time kind of pose, maybe have one weapon in front of the other, like so you get balance, right? One hand goes forward, the other hand goes back.
Mimic the human body, right? Pretend you're this thing. How would you be standing with these things in your hand?
Like a good tip I find is just act it out, really. Like when you act it out, you know what's possible and what's not, and you can sort of get a feel for what you can.
Yeah. Very nice. And then we have the last one. It's a little bit more bracing, and then the arm tuck.
Arm tuck. The again, one hand forward, the other hand goes back. Just so it's balanced. What else is that to say? I mean, he looks like he's doing like a kind of like a parry or like a.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see something hitting the axe, and he's defending himself from it, right?
And the legs are spread, just like balance, sense of weight.
Yeah. Yeah, no, a lot of good stuff here. You guys should go out and recreate this. See what you guys can do with what makes a good pose. So now we have good pose. We know how to we know how to start with the good pose, and we know where to get our references and our inspiration from. We know how to set up the equipment, and now it's time to see all of this in action. And what Saint has prepared for us is going to walk us through how, with his full armor Thunderbolt Gundam, he went from this. This is your reference, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I guess you could call it a reference. So we'll start from there because that's like the first picture I took when I was trying to get this idea going in my head, I guess. So, so the Thunderbolt picture that you guys all like know and seen, it started off life as that. If I didn't keep working at it, it would have stayed like that. Like you wouldn't have gotten that nice image that you know today. So today we're just gonna walk you how I arrived at it basically.
Yeah. So here we have the first picture. It says, most might stop here and call it a day, but it can be better. What do we have to work with? We have legs. So we have to look at the kit, right? This is what you did. You looked at the kit. What do you have? You have legs, of course, offhand shields. You have movable shields. You have a shoulder beam cannon. And you have a double beam rifle. So there's a lot of things to take into account. Like, this is a very busy kit.
And these are the things that like can contribute or modify the silhouette basically. So like you got to think about these things when you like using a kit to take a picture of that pose. You got to basically you got to hack the kit to make the silhouette you want.
If you were to put a silhouette on this, you wouldn't know what's going on, right? It's just too busy, too disorganized in some way. I mean, of course, like you said, most might stop here and call it a day. I mean, I would take that picture and be like, wow, this is an awesome picture. I'm out, right? But we can make this better. So then you got your first revision, right? So your first revision.
I turned those movable shields and I made them kind of flat. So first that makes like a line across. That's like the first step I did. And then what I did was I took that the camera and I just lifted it up a bit and shot it from a different angle.
Okay. So now we're experimenting. Now we're changing shield, taking from different angle. Then we go on to the second revision.
So now I lifted that beam cannon up.
Okay.
If you compare it to the previous shot, now you can see the beam cannon silhouette, whereas previously you can't.
Yeah, it kind of blends into the shield. All right, but now it's complete. It's a separate It's a separate thing now.
And, like for a long time, I was like thinking, why does this look better than the other one? And it's like, oh, the silhouette. I can see it now, right?
Yeah.
And the Canon is just not at any angle. It's like kind of parallel with the leg. So in that sense, it sort of matches something else in the image, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's a little bit of harmony, right? Like, okay, and now it's working together. It's not all just random, right? There's some kind of connection going on here. We got third revision then.
So for me, when I take pictures, I take a billion pictures, and sometimes I'll take variations. So from here, like I'm just opening up the missile pods, and like if you compare it to the previous image, I think I moved like the shield got bumped out of the way next to the missile pod. If you go back to the previous one.
Yep.
So that shield that's on the top.
Right.
Right. So that when I was adjusting the missile pod, that shield got bumped out of the way, and as a result, it's like it lost a bit of that silhouette.
Yeah. Yeah, you lost it because you're kind of you want to show more of the missile pod, but you got like it says here plus visual interest. So, you know, you have to balance these things out, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Then we go to fourth revision, and then that's when we get a little bit of then we hide you just hit the missile pods again.
Yeah, so I thought that wasn't working. So I fixed that shield, so I made it straight again. And what I did was I lifted that cannon, the armor, up a bit, just so it's like just using I don't know, it's just it's a better line, I guess, with the shield.
Yeah, it's like another parallel line, right? Like, yep. So beam rifle lifted up, and then after you did that, we went to the fifth one here.
So the difference between this and the previous image is I just rotated the camera a bit. You can see like the beam cannon is sort of aiming in the corner now, so it just makes use of that space a bit better.
Oh, okay, yeah, it does. Okay, yes.
Again, I'm just like take lots of variations. So like sometimes I'll take a picture of like the missile pods open, and sometimes I won't. So in this particular shot, I just close everything, and I'm just like experimenting with the offhand.
Yeah, so experimenting, closing the missile pods again, right? It's just it's a bunch of photos that you're taking to find that one good picture, right? I mean, we're already on the fifth revision. Now we're on the sixth. And on the sixth, you experiment with the angle still, right?
This time it's very subtle, but I'm just like shooting it from like the right a bit. So I just like literally took my camera tripod and I just shifted it like a few centimeters to the right. I found that the eye catches the light at this angle much better, so you can see like the glow is much brighter than the previous one.
Oh my god, you're right. I never noticed that, but you're right. Look at that. It's way brighter. Okay.
And then I also adjusted the offhand again.
Okay. So the shield offhand, of course, right here. All right. And then, yeah, then offhand return to original position. Okay. So again, we're taking step by steps, taking a bunch of photos, trying to see which one's the best. We go on to the seventh. And now, on the seventh, you opened up the hatches again. It's starting to look a little bit like your image, right? You're starting to get close, and then the eighth revision is when.
That's the one, right? That's the one that you'll know and love.
Yeah.
I just lifted the camera up a bit. Because if you check the previous, look at the previous ones, the other leg, the one on the left side.
Yeah.
The silhouette of that looks a bit weird.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a stub.
Looks like stubby, right?
Yeah. But not anymore when you open it up. Right there.
So, so I'm just hacking the silhouette of that leg. It looks like I'd say it looks a bit more cohesive now, and I would say like thing about when you want to hack silhouette is like you want to hide the things that you don't want to use. You don't necessarily want people to see.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to see the leg bend because that looks a bit weird.
Yeah, it does. I mean, but if let's look at the contrast between the first image that you took. And then, so this is what it first looked like, right? And then this is ultimately what you got by all the revisions. Now, of course, I doubt you took only 8 pictures to get here, right?
Oh no, man! From the first one to like that one, it was probably like 500 shots at least.
There you go. I mean, see, guys, like, it's about how dedicated and hard you go on this. Like, it really just, it kind of just goes to show that hard work pays off, right? And so now everybody knows this picture. Almost everybody who is into Gundam knows about this picture. I mean, even, let's just point out real quick the left leg. Look how weird the silhouette is here compared to this one, right? Like,
Yeah.
completely different.
I
And
would say,
Mhm.
would say that leg's not like leg has not substantially moved in any way. I was doing this picture. It's just the way you look at it, I guess.
Yeah, just the angle.
Yeah.
And another thing that I want to keep in mind, just so you guys know, that everything that we just been over with leading lines, with focal points, with everything like that, it's all being put to use with the shields being parallel. Like right here, shield parallel to this weapon. We have this leg parallel to the beam, to the shoulder rifle. We have the missile pods open to get some visual interest. We have a different change in the angle to get a better silhouette on the leg over here. That was a little stubby before. Different change in the angle to get the eye slit up, because over here they're not, as compared to here. There's a lot of things going on, and it's basically all of the points that we have already listed to you guys out. So put it all into work, and you might find yourselves with something like the FA Thunderbolt.
It's not a crazy pose or anything. It's just the way it's sort of arranged, right? It's not doing anything. I would say the pose itself is not particularly dynamic or interesting. It's just the way it's shot and the way things come together.
Yeah, yeah,
Give look.
that's the way it works. But now,
And
Mhm.
sorry,
No, no.
I
Go ahead.
when I was shooting that, the time I of course didn't think about all these things. I just sort of like moved things into positions that I thought were better. So it's like when I was that time when I was shooting that kid, I had no idea about all these things. I was just going, like just experimenting with stuff, basically.
Experiment, guys. Experiment. That's the key here, right? Experiment. But now, Saint might not have known exactly what he was doing, but now you guys get to see what he did, and you guys can put it into use with your own kits and your own photographs. So definitely go out and do it. But speaking of what he did, we're gonna go into the Wing Zero, which is his latest work. His latest popular image, which is the Wing Zero. Now, the example here, I love this little sprite image that you have here of Storm from X-Men, right?
That's from Marvel too. So, I just sort of had an idea. Wanted something like outreaching, leaning back, and I just thought of Storm from Marvel too, and I'll use that as a reference from.
So
supposedly.
So this is your reference image. This is what you want to copy. You want to put it into the wing. And we're going to go behind the scenes into how this all works. So there's some things that you need to take into account before you start doing this. So first, get your reference image. And then you have to take, again, into account the kit. Now, this is not the first time he does it. Remember, he did it in the FA Thunderbolt, where he noticed that he had a lot of things to work with. He had a bunch of weapons to work with, a bunch of shields to work with. It was just really busy kit. So now he's going to take a look at the Verka, because this is the new Wing Gundam Verka that just came out a couple of months ago, right?
Right.
So this is where he starts looking at these, and for example, the first image that says, fully making use of this weird leg joint, hyperextending the leg. He's kind of looking at these gimmicks that it has. So what exactly did you think of this? Tell us what your brainstorm was on this section.
I wanted like a really feminine pose for this kid.
Mm-hmm.
Realize that if you want something really feminine, you kind of like first thing you can think of is like long legs, right? So long legs and curved lines. So in order to do that, like Swing Zero, they designed the legs in such a way that they can kind of cross behind each other, like, and they can kind of swivel to the side.
Yeah.
Just so it can do that that leg behind leg pose, that it's well known for.
Mm-hmm.
So I used that, right? So I think this is one of the only kits that can do this. So I made full use of it when taking pictures of this kit.
Yeah.
And the thing about kits with lots of moving parts is that you really gotta think about how it all fits together. Like those feathers are a serious pain in the ass to like work with, especially when you're like moving stuff around
Mm-hmm.
you can like accidentally bump one out of the way when you're like moving things, and then like it just ruins like hours of work because like you got to ship it, you get a picture where it's like just something is just off.
Yeah. Yeah. They're on a ball joint, so they move really easily. Yeah. So you're taking all this into account. You said this is a kit with a lot of moving parts, a lot of things that you want to do. But the thing is, if you're listening closely, he already has something in mind. He has a reference, and he also knows that he wants it to be feminine. So he already knows what a feminine pose looks like or needs to have in order for it to reach that goal. And so then we're gonna go right into what he did, which is how did we arrive to this? How did we arrive to this beautiful pose? How did we do it, right? Because I remember when I first saw this image, saying like you really knocked it out of the park, man. Like holy god, what exactly did you do? So we're gonna start looking at your behind the scenes brainstorming here, and so what you guys are about to see are the same image, but with diagram and like drawings on it, explaining exactly the ingredients for this image. So walk us through.
First of all, there's I feel it's a very clear action line. So you can see like it's curved too, which is what I was looking for. Like if you can imagine like if the kid has a spine, it would be like sort of curved, and then you can see like the head's kind of tilted back, so it's just like kind of that kind of cool look like this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
With the action line, you can kind of tell already like what is happening.
Yep.
You've got the leg and the beam rifle. Well, you could put them in like I guess they can be at different angles, but if they're already there, you might as well just make them parallel, just so it's like gets a nice harmony, I guess, like you mentioned.
Yeah, it's easier to look at in the eyes, right? The human eye likes order, right? It likes things to be organized, and even if it's kind of subliminal, where you don't necessarily notice a parallel, but your brain is like, okay, there's something about this image that I like, and in this case, yes, the parallel. Once you point it out, it's obvious. So that's something that you did right there, right? And then over here,
Wings. It's nice, very flowy, curvy lines to complement the main action line.
mm-hmm.
Then the leg, the wing at the back. So that makes it like a nice V shape as well. So again, that's like another set of lines that's sort of just guiding your gaze up to the top corner.
Yeah, yeah. I think when I was working on this with Saint and I saw these, it really kind of this is such a cool concept. Just wings positioned to give curved lines. When you drew the action line there, or the curved line, I didn't notice it until you drew it. Like I didn't really kind of look at this image and think, oh wow, it really is kind of symmetrical in some way. And even with like the arrow, like there's so much going on. And then we put them all together on this image on the next one, right?
And you get a nice flow of direction, like it's going up towards the top left corner, I guess. And then all the lines converge up there. It's like, look, here's the face. Look at my face, right? Look.
Exactly. Like, somebody in the chat tell me that this is what you first like. What did you first see when you looked at this image? And I promise you guys are going to say the body or the face. And he's right. All the lines converge there, and that's where your attention is drawn. But then we have some minor details, right? Because it's not all about just lines, but there's some minor details that you kind of took into account. Walk us through that a little bit too.
Yeah. So like the offhand, the right hand, it's I want to use it, so I'm gonna hide it, right? So I'm just kind of tucking it away, but it's kind of just peeking out, so you know that it's still there, basically.
Mm-hmm.
The other wing, you'll notice that it's completely, you really see it hidden behind the body.
Yeah.
That's because like I kind of played around this for a bit. Is that if you have both wings visible at the same time, it's kind of like messes up the silhouette. But you don't get a kind of empty space that says like here's the wing. You just get like a big blob.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, I did not think of that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it kind of just gets in the way. So that's some minor details that you were looking at, and then we have some more over here.
So you'll notice that the shoulders are also pointed up,
Mm-hmm.
and because they're pointed up, they sort of make lines that sort of guide the lines that sort of guide into the head. Same with the arm. Right? So it's like those little three things. Like it's also pointing into the same focal point.
Got an X. You got an X shape right there, a little bit. Just missing one little line. But yeah, no, I can see it. And then over here we have the feathers. Now these are the feathers that you were saying were a pain.
So you'll notice the way they're arranged. It's like it sort of flows with the curve of the wing.
Mm-hmm.
You can see how that sort of small frame, like that's what it looks like in real life. So it's I'm literally like hacking the feathers to sort of match that curve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it matches perfectly. Like, if you could just draw a little smooth line down, right? But that's not what they look like from a different angle, right? You have a little picture here, shows exactly what they look like. And they're messed up. They're just disorganized, as opposed to you organizing for this angle specifically, because you're catering to this angle. This is the angle you want, right? So there's kind of like a magician working with what the audience sees, which is really cool, right? Oh, real quick, remember to check out our sponsor, guys. Quick break. Argama Hobby. Go check them out if you're in the U.S. or in Canada. You guys can order from them. Super awesome tools like MadWorks, Scribers. They also have Gaia Notes, so they're actually the first place here in Canada to have Gaia Notes. And you guys can order them, and you can also order them if you're in the U.S. So go check them out at argamahobby.com. Thank you for sponsoring this episode of Masterclass number 2. But with that, let's keep going to this next one.
So I made that one little feather on the wing on the side. Just point up a bit. Just like, I don't know, I just felt like it was a bit too flat. Just pointed it up just to give it a little visual interest.
Yeah. Kind of adding chaos to the order, right? So, because everything else looks so smooth, and then you get this little bump, and you're like, oh, it's a feather. Right? That's what I'm looking at.
And then lastly, I think, not lastly, you'll notice that the camera's eyes all lit up. That just happens to be a byproduct of my lighting, I guess. Like,
that's what I'm saying. And people have asked me, hey, does he use LEDs? Like, no, it's all lighting. He doesn't put any LEDs in his kits. So very cool. And then lastly, this is look for variations on the same pose.
Yeah, so you've already put all that work in. I find that you can literally like turn the head, you'll get a different vibe. Like it's the same pose, but you get a different vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So for that wing zero pose, I literally just removed the rifle and just pointed the head, making it look forward instead of like down to the side. And now looks like you get a flying pose.
Mm-hmm.
The same,
Yeah. I mean, it looks this one over here. I love the next one that you did with the wing. Looks super gorgeous. And I like how you actually brought in the other wing. But because I'm guessing it's because you got rid of the weapon, so the silhouette harmonizes better than just having that one jutting weapon, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So that's what we have. Then over here we have another kit where you're showing the variations of the same pose. So this is the same pose, right here. Your reference.
So that's like the grays, blue grays basically, and that. The first and the third image is like I'd say it's like 80% the same pose. The only thing that's different is that the head's looking the other way and the arm is like moved out. Instead of shooting, it's like kind of like line with the leg to make the action line, I guess, point in the upward right direction.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I see it. I see the difference. I feel like you're working more with an X here. And then over here, you're working with parallel lines here and in the backpack, right? And then you get a little arrow, so you kind of look in here.
So when you're doing flying pose, guys, please do tippy toes because that just makes a nice smoother line rather than like
tippy toes.
Yeah.
Variations with the pose, like you said, you already put all the work into getting this right here. There's no reason to destroy all this work and just go to a different pose. Change it a little bit and maybe you'll get something else. That's the way this works. That's just the way it the game is played. So super cool, right? Things to keep in mind. And then so now let's just kind of go over everything that we've looked at. We looked at how to look at your camera, right? All the settings, what how they relate to each other. Then you got the setup, so you guys know how to obviously set up your booth, your lighting. It depends on what you want, dramatic effect. Depends on you. Then you got posing, which is all of your interests and your inspiration, video games, movies, human body, everything like that. how to pose, how to put all of that into to work, and then we got to look at the FA Thunderbolt and the Wing Zero behind the scenes. So this is how you can get a really good picture. Of course, this is all before post-processing, which we'll get to soon. But before all of that, we're going to talk about the Patreon. So real quick, if you're watching, remember to hit that follow button on Twitch. It'll really help us out. And our patrons here, who, of course, support us over at patreon.com/GTS base, or I think it's GTS fam, I forgot. They got to submit some pictures, and now Saint is going to give them a little bit of criticism on their pictures. So we're going to start off with Han. You ready for this, Saint? We got Han here. And so let's look at Han's picture.
So we've got Airman and Rescue here, and I really like what you've got. The red and blue background, I guess. I would say that it's slightly overexposed, like just slightly. Like it's like the highlights are just a bit like you've like maxed out on the brightness basically. Also, Tony's like nice and dynamic, whereas Pepper's doing a bit of the good old point and shoot, I guess. Like,
You're right, yeah.
Yeah. The backdrop, it's a bit of a like starting to overpower the subject. It's that like the backdrop and the subject are like same relative brightness, so it's like kind of blending into each other. So I think about maybe like just making that a bit darker or like less saturated.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of ideas, you can fix Pepper up. Maybe just go back to
no.
Maybe you've got Tony kind of leaning back. Why don't you kind of make Pepper like a bit closer than leaning forward, and you fix up the pose bit, and then you sort of get like you can get like a nice V shape for Tony leaning back and shooting, and then Pepper like kind of flying forward and shooting, and then you get a nice a V composition basically.
Okay, so make both of them work together well, right? Kind of showing this guy over here, and then she would be going over here. I like that. And then you have some ideas here of where they could get some inspiration or some reference, right?
So I mean, you want the good old team up ideas? Like here's some things you can think about maybe. So you can have like a back-to-back shooting pose, like Dante and Virgil, or you've got Doman and Rain there doing like the big like what's it called, the Seka Tenkyoken.
I do not know.
So it's like just a bit of a bit more interaction. So I mean, just ideas I'm just throwing out here, right? So
yeah, well, I mean, it's a lot of things that you can do, right? So look for some reference with two people, like you said, Dante and Virgil. I mean, I love Devil May Cry, but I mean Dante and Virgil in this post. I'm sure you could make them do the same thing. They both have their own weapons, but definitely try it out. Post it up, and we'll see if it worked, and I'll you can post it to Saint. If you guys can want to talk to Saint, you guys can head over at Discord, and he posts every once in a while. So, but definitely you can definitely rescue it, Han. I'm glad to see that you're still here. He says I didn't know how to post. I didn't know how to post the rescue. So a lot of things that
it's literally mirror Tony, just in the opposite. Like instead of leaning back, leaning forward. But
yeah.
Look at. Consult the previous slides, like twist the torso a bit.
Yeah.
Do something with the other arm, like have it.
Yeah.
Like go back a bit, like like back here, just to like balance.
Yeah. If we go over here, this is literally what it looks like, right? It's just a point and shoot, right? So there's a lot of things that you can do, like we look there, but like I said, go for it, change it, post it back, let us know. Put everything you're learning today into your photographs and posting. And
actually, I was thinking this literally is a picture of two. Like it's like good and bad almost. Like
yeah.
yeah.
No, I mean, of course, there's no offense, right? This is critique, right? It's like this is, and then you got Tony doing a really cool pose, like his leg is bent. If anything, I think I would do a little tippy toes on the foot here. I mean, me personally, so because he's not standing on the air, right? But everything else is working really well. But yeah, definitely change Pepper out and see what happens. Let us know. We got Noble. Now, Noble Mecha had to go to work, and he said bye a while ago, but we were busy, so I didn't say bye to him. I hope that he's doing well. But we're going to look at his kits now and see what Saint has for him. So we have the Saku Gunner, and then we have the Mashu.
Yushin Mushra Mark 2.
Mark Musha. I'm sorry, I forget the names, guys. I'm terrible at this. But see notes on action line. This is the first thing that you have here, right?
So when it comes to this pose, and I think my main criticism is that you can't really tell what's happening. So well, it's doing like the good old point and slash, like both at the same time. So, and like the knees are bent, so that kind of is it kicking off like like on the catapult trying to launch. And like just minor things like or is it trying to shoot Gatlings? Like is it like crunching in and trying to shoot those massive Gatlings? So because of that, I can't tell what's happening. So minor housekeeping too, like make the guns sort of level and straight, so it's like just more appealing. I think I've got examples in a later slide of how you could kind of fix that. But the Shin Musha, so I feel that's slightly. I think you might have used flash this thing because I think some parts of it is just like washed out. Do you think so? Or?
Oh, what on his? I'm pretty sure he used flash. He normally uses flash, but I'm pretty sure this one has flash. Yeah, there's definitely some flash in there. So now you know, Noble, flash is a no-no, right? Get some light, take away the flash, right?
The glinty, the light glint is pretty nice, but like the rest of it's a bit overexposed. So again, housekeeping. There's a bit of a fold in your backdrop, so fold or shadow? I can't tell.
I'm pretty sure that's like a. I feel like that's a fold, like a shadow of a fold itself, right?
Right. So yeah, either slides on lighting, regular, just a bit of housekeeping. Make sure your backdrop's like and not creased.
Yeah. I think
we can give you some idea.
Oh yeah, I know for sure. We'll give him some ideas. The only thing I would say also is the shoulder here is up, is the correct way, and then down here, do you see it? Point up.
Yeah, but I think that's just a limitation of posing Gunpla. Like if you want to get stuff up there, it's
and that's what I wanted.
The only way you can.
Yeah, it's the only way you can get the pose, but that's what I wanted to mention because Han actually messaged us back on the chat. He's like, "That's the furthest the foot can go on the Iron Man." So I don't think you can make it go tippy toes.
Well, you get what you get, right? So you gotta work with what you got.
Well, here are the examples, right? For the
so I would think about maybe getting the pole, getting the weapon to sort of in contact with the hand. I think right now it's like kind of resting on the shoulder, but it just looks a bit it looks like the arm is just hanging there basically.
Yeah, because there'd be like no reason for the arm to be stretching out, right?
Yeah. So maybe like rotate the shoulder a bit, just so you can get make the even if it's just touching the hand, you don't have to necessarily put it in the hand. Just look like it's touching from the angle you're trying to take a picture of. Just so it looks like it's like actually like holding the weapon. And the reference I pasted was like
Xing Zhao, yeah, from League of Legends, yep.
And again, he happens to be using a similar kind of weapon, so maybe just have a look at that.
Yeah, there it is, references. And then we got the Zaku Gunner.
And, so can go a couple of ways with this. If you want just like a kind of like a heroic standing pose, again, straighten up the legs, have one weapon in front of the other, so it's balanced. I think that's Hilda from Soul Calibur. So maybe something like that, where like the beam axe is like forward, and the offhand is kind of just tucked in. Or if you want like a kind of like Gatling shooting pose, then you kind of like the arms crunched in, so it looks like it's like trying to like hold in that power, basically, like manage to recoil.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's difficult because I feel like the Zaku Gunner has the same. I don't want to say problem. Like it's the same. You have to overcome the same issue as like the Thunderbolt, right? It's really busy. It has a lot of things going on, so there's a lot more things to balance out. But, like you said, you can work with the whole power of it, the recoil that's holding it in. But you have to decide what you want it to do. That's the thing. You want to decide what you want it to do specifically. Can't be doing everything at the same time, right?
Exactly.
So, unless, the image here that says fire everything, right? So there you go. There you go, Noble. Again, post it up on the Discord, and we'll share it to Saint and see what he has to say about your homework when it comes to this. We're gonna go on all the way to England, old school. So what do you think of old school here?
That Amatsumina, 10. Like I'm gonna take a picture of that and steal it basically if I ever get to building one.
There you go, old school. He's gonna steal your picture.
Out of 10. I would say maybe you can sort of play around with the little F blades. Like the one on the left is kind of blending in with the wing. So
maybe it couldn't hold itself up, and that's why he has it resting on this.
Maybe it's like a limitation of the kit. But yeah, I would think about just like moving it slightly so you can see like the clear silhouette of that that knife.
Okay.
But
Nice.
I think that's a really good photo. I mean, just play around with it. Maybe good base to sort of finding the one, I guess, if it's not already the one.
Yeah. There you go. And then we have the Banshee over here.
Yeah. So I think I was talking with you about this, and I just feel like the legs are the silhouette of the legs just feels a bit this particular angle. It just looks a bit weird. Like what do you think about this?
So we were talking about this when we first put these pictures up, and what we kind of came to the realization is that maybe the legs should be spread a little bit further apart, because it looks like you have the Banshee firing his weapon. So if that's the case, what do we need to do? We need to brace, right? He's not just going to go boom and that's it. So what I told Saint, in my opinion, what you could do is go back to the how to pose, mistakes 101, go to do, and right here, right? So we have the same kind of pose here where it's shooting the weapon, but it kind of looks like this right now. You want it to get to look like this, where it's bracing itself to shoot that weapon, right? And so I think that's what you can do, old school, in my own opinion, because it looks nice. This top part is nice, but this is what you need to work with, right?
Yeah. I would just maybe experiment with at a different, taking a picture at a different angle, which sort of makes the legs a bit more appealing, I guess.
It could also be part of the whole limitations of the kit, because I know it is a bulky kit.
Yeah, those unicorn kits, man, they can't bend the knee. It's terrible.
Yeah, they can't do any of that. So maybe, but great work, old school. The next thing we have here is real-time Gunpla. So we have his Mega Man right here, and then we have the, what is this, the SRW?
So it's the R1 from Super Robo Wars.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So the Mega Man, I really like that. It's you got nice composition. The background kind of complements the Mega Man. Maybe hit it with a bit more bokeh, so it's a bit more blurred out. Say, but the pose is really good. Tell what's happening.
Nice lighting too, right? Like the bluish hue on
lighting,
it.
yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, and then you got your R1 here, which is then punch, I guess. Make him look like the Mega Man. Come on.
Yeah, you have a nice reference right here.
Yeah. Although the thing is is that the Kotobukiya kit? Because I'm afraid it's gonna self-destruct if you pose it too much. So that's the thing that might be stopping him.
Yeah, no, the SRW could definitely use some work, and that's why you have this here, right?
Well, I mean that's still a straight from the game. I mean you can literally try and take that exact picture, but if you do, please yell T-Link Knuckle while you're doing it. It'll get you hyped up.
There you go. Yeah, I think that's what he was kind of going for,
Yeah. So it's more of a framing thing. I mean, you've got your reference image. Why not? If you're already there, why not take the exact image that you know?
True, and you have a good camera, it seems, right? So you could definitely get that pose, right? Because it's almost the same, and maybe move this down a little bit, like you have in your reference pose, right? It's not gonna come from here when you're. You can't see me, Sam, but I'm doing the post, right? It's not gonna come from up here. It's gonna come from down here, like he is, right?
It's more crunched in at the bottom, yeah.
Exactly. So definitely keep that in mind. But awesome work, real time. Then we have Grumpy. Now Grumpy, beautiful satin finish on the Zaku too. It's a wrestling
And I didn't
conversion.
have notes on this. Like, I think it looks good as it is. It's probably just a bit underexposed. Like, what do you think?
I think it also depends on kind of the dramatic effect that he wants to go for, right? Maybe he wants to go for that dramatic look and it's a little bit darker and all that stuff. But I do agree with that satin finish. I would like to see a little bit more of it, like a little bit more alive. So to that, I would say expose it a little bit more, add a little bit more lighting.
Or we can fix it in post. I'll show you. We'll go over the example afterwards. So you can just boost the levels of it, and
Yeah.
otherwise, clean photo. Backdrop's good. Infinity effect. What else is there to say? I like the fact that you went off center, because sometimes when you put stuff off center, it actually looks more interesting when you just take it straight in the frame.
Yep.
Um, you just space like add text there, and I think that would, if you put like text Zakuto on the right side, I think that
Oh yeah.
that's actually like composition as well, right? So
Yeah, that actually fills in a little bit of the negative space, right?
yeah, yep. And
Yeah.
so I think you've got like not an LED, but you've got like aftermarket um UI. So I don't know if it's possible for you, but if you could somehow like light it up with like your setup, but just try to like experiment shining lights at different angles to see if you can get that lit up. I think that would look like
Reflectors. Piece of paper. Right? And then you can be able to get that. But no, awesome work, Grumpy. But I do agree with him. There is a lot of negative space. And the off center is something that a lot of people should work with. You don't always have to make everything symmetrical. Work with I think it's the rule of thirds. That
yes.
kind of goes hand in hand with the off center. It doesn't always have to be. Now, that's why when you have a phone and you're taking a photo, there's an option sometimes for a lot of phones to put a grid on, so you can work with that. That's what it's there for. But yeah, beautiful work. And then we have some weird guy. This is from Sean. He's a host here, so this is his unicorn and his goof.
So I don't have much experience shooting outdoors. I would say the first shot, probably a bit too overexposed, just because it's probably just way too sunny at that time.
Mm-hmm.
This is nice. I mean, that you've got the good old frame going on of the bean saber and the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Again, when you take pictures outdoors and you can see, the background and scenery, it kind of like it ruins the illusion of scale a bit. So I don't know if maybe check out, if you want to shoot outdoors, maybe check out the Joshadera and Naoki slides. So put the kit on like a high place, and then you go under it, and you shoot up, so you just don't see any like anything that could make it look small, basically.
Yeah, I agree that'll definitely work. Like, these are awesome pictures, especially the goof one.
Yeah. Beautiful, and it's like nice and natural. It's just that you can see, the background, which makes it smaller than it is.
Like yeah, like you already know that it's a small kit, right?
The goof image is like a lot less overexposed than the unicorn. I think that one works better, I guess.
Yeah, no, definitely keep it in mind. But yeah, no, definitely check out Josh Adara and Naoki to take some examples or add some notes for taking photos like that. But awesome work, man. So that's for the patrons. Remember, if you guys, we have a lot of things going on with what we want to do with Patreon. Like, obviously right now we're under restrictions and stuff here in Alberta, so there are a lot of things that we wanted to do specifically for Patreon. We can't because we're limited to staying here. And even today we got a notification that we have even more restrictions now. Again, it was like a whole emergency update thing through our text messages. But this is something that the Patreons got, which is a perk. We have this chat on Discord for Patreons. It's called the Patreon Lounge. If you guys want to support the channel or support the brand in some way, you guys can head over to to patreon.com and check out GTS and become part of the GTS fam there. But that's for you guys. Let us know what you guys think. And for you over there, patrons out there, do your homework, take the photos again, take these points into account, and share them on there, and we'll talk about them and see how you did. But we're going to go on to the next thing, which is the post-processing of the photos, right? So you have some examples here.
So shout out to the AI Paintworks again for sharing these images.
Mm-hmm.
These are the ones he took in that booth with no lighting. So he was just doing some experiments that day. So you can see that even though it's very like under and sort of overexposed in the source images, like he still managed to sort of recover,
Mm-hmm.
like save it a bit. So guess what I'm gonna try to do after the break is that I'll just try to show you how to sort of save your images, which are like a bit like under or over, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna go into a almost 5 minute break. We're not gonna completely turn off. It's just gonna be a little waiting screen, and we'll be right back as we set up the live demo for you guys. So stick around. We'll be right back. We'll go to Streamlabs over here, and give me a sec. All right, guys, we're back. We're going to go into the live demo in a little bit here. Give me a second because I have to switch some things with the camera, so I'm going to be doing some switcheroo things live on camera. So give me a really quick second. All right, guys, we're back. I'm just going to turn off these right here. All right, cool. So we're back. You guys can't see Saint, and you guys can't see me, but it's so you guys can have this big old space. So if you wouldn't mind taking it away, Saint, we're here watching.
Sure. So I'm gonna show you typically how I adjust the brightness and contrast on my images, so just so it looks better on a monitor. So, I use GIMP. It's like a free image editing program, but you know, Photoshop, any kind of image editor, you should have this option. It's called levels.
Mm-hmm.
And graph looks kind of scary, but I'll just kind of explain how it works. So on the x-axis at the bottom, that's it's like how bright each pixel of the image is. Mm-hmm. And the y-axis is how many pixels. So in this example, this is like the RX 78 2 that I built, and you can see that this graph, it's a spike of black pixels, mainly because the background is black. The way to read this is that you can see on the right side, like
Yeah.
graph is kind of pixel, and then it just drops dead pretty much. So that means there's no this is saying that there's no pixels which are like super bright. So, and conversely, at the on the left side, there's a sort of small gap here, which says like there's nothing in this image which is completely black. What you can do to fix this is you can just take the slider. We're gonna take the black one first, and what this is doing is like it's redistributing the pixels.
Mm-hmm.
Redistributing the brightness of each pixel to fit the graph. You can see I've moved that black slider just a bit in, just to like sort of start at where this black spike is.
Yeah.
Now you can see like the background looks black now, right? So it's like the contrast. It would be the same thing as if you went to your contrast setting and just jacked up the contrast a bit. So here you got a bit more control.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna do the same thing with like the bright side. So we're just gonna take the slider and just drag it in a bit, just so it's like maybe it's meeting here, or you can experiment with what you like basically. And so now my the Gundam is like looking nice and contrasty.
Yeah.
People ask me how I get my black background. It's actually just changing the levels, just to make sure there's like a black part of the image and then there's like a bright part of the image.
Okay. Cool.
Here's what it looks like before and after, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, the before and after, you can definitely tell a difference.
So it's nothing. It's a very simple process. It's nothing special. Like.
Mm-hmm.
And like each for each color, there's also a separate slider. But what I sometimes do is that I go to blue, and there's this old like sort of theory that a bluish white looks more white than white. So sometimes I just throw in a bit of blue.
Oh.
It's very subtle, but
So this is like the graph is the histogram, right?
the histogram.
Mm-hmm.
It's that some people look at a histogram and it's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's like when I first started. So before and after.
Yeah, no, you can
So
tell.
now I'm gonna use an example that AI Paint works in. So this is this Vargo, and this particular image is like it's a bit under, right?
Mhm.
So let's open the levels. And you can see like it's like massive spike down here, which is like means it's very dark. And then like look at this gap, like it's like all the way down here, right?
Yeah.
So again, we're just gonna drag the brightness, the rearrange, distribute brightness of the image. I'm just gonna pull it all the way until here. You can see it's already starting to make a big difference already.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, 100%.
And on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
now a bit dark, right? So let's play around with it a bit more. What else would I do? But the output levels. So that just this one I'm a bit hesitant to like give my explanation because I just started learning about this last night as well. So I think this changes like the minimum amount of black in the image. So if I would put it at 7, that means that would be the minimum pixel brightness would be 7. So you're losing about a bit of black, but because it's so dark already, you want to like just make it a bit brighter, right?
Yeah.
Looking much better already, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, even if we like looked at the before and after like you do, you can tell the huge difference, right?
Look at that.
Yeah.
But maybe you feel the image is a bit blue as well, because if you're using like natural light, sometimes it's like a bit blue. I find like
Yeah.
from a window. So just reduce like the max blue brightness. I think I would be happy with that. Let's see.
Oh, it looks nice. Yeah, it looks way brighter.
I mean,
Yeah.
so I would be happy with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I got one more example he sent. So this time's on a white backdrop,
Okay.
and um, I sort of advise against like I feel like white backdrop is a bit hard to work with because sometimes if you need to fix an image, if white backdrop can sort of overpower whatever you're trying to shoot in it.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do. So we go to levels. Um, sometimes I'm not sure of Photoshop because I've rarely used it, but sometimes there's an auto function that you just press it and it does its best guess to what's going on.
Yeah. It does.
I'm gonna cheat a bit with this one. It's like I couldn't find a nice deterministic way of fixing it without like messing with like all the sliders. So
Mhm.
there is an eyedrop function here. I'm moving my mouse. So you click that, and essentially you point at a part of an image which you're telling the program like, oh, this is pure white. I'm gonna click backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, sorry, look at that. Looks like histogram. So you can see white, nothing black, and then a huge spike in the white because white backdrop obviously.
Yeah. Seems like a lot to work with there.
So I took that white dropper and I just hit it on the white backdrop, and the program's taking its best guess as to um like read doing the brightness and the color temperature based on my white selection.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the RGB, it's like done. It's like automatically done. Necessary adjustment.
Yeah.
Based on what you thought white was.
Wow.
Yeah.
That looks way better too. That blue hue is
So-
completely gone.
There you go. The thing with white backdrop I find is that it's a bit it's a bit harder to rescue overexposed images because the backdrop's already so white.
Yeah.
Really, not much space for you to work with when you're adjusting like brightness and contrast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There you go. I mean, so now like this is how I kind of work. Alright, I adjust my images so it looks nice on a monitor.
Yeah.
I think some people might feel it's kind of like cheating to like do this, but I feel like as long as you're not as long as you're not increasing your modeling activity with your modeling skill with Photoshop, I feel it's like all right. Like,
Yeah. No. Of course. I mean, at the end of the day, the magic comes from the camera, the angle, the composition, all the things we talked about, leading lines, and then bringing it onto a program such as this one, a software that can just make it so much better, right? You can adjust things that you couldn't normally do. And it's definitely a learning curve, right? You have to go in and learn how to use GIMP, Photoshop, Lightroom, whatever program it is that you use. In this case, you use GIMP. So a lot of, like I said, a learning curve, a lot of learning. Go on YouTube, look at videos on how to work with the programs. But it's nice to know, like, this is why you also get your really dark background, right?
yeah, exactly.
Playing with contrast and such. But awesome. So guys out there, you guys can go take pictures and work on editing, because editing is, a lot of people ask me what program I use to edit my photos, and not because I'm a great photographer, just because people ask me what I do. And I use Adobe Lightroom, right? I have it on my phone, and I don't have it on the desktop, but I might end up getting it. I do have Photoshop, but I've never really sat down to learn how to use Photoshop with pictures. I just kind of use it to cut things out. But awesome, man. This is your secret then. It's everything. I mean, it's not just GIMP, it's everything.
Yeah, I highly call pressing a button and give a secret. Come on, man.
No, I'm not talking about GIMP. I mean, that's why I said everything in general. Like, because at the end of the day, this is research, right, that you have to do, right? Leading lines. It's a lot of things that, as basic as they seem, and you might think they don't apply to you, they do in some way if you want to get good photography, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I hope like after this session, like you guys will go look at pictures, and then you can finally kind of quantify like what you like it, right? Like so.
Exactly. So, with that said, I don't know if there's anything that you might want to add, Saint.
Uh, well, I hope wherever you are in your journey that you managed to get something out of this session. Like that we did a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Had to like cover as many things as we can. Probably missed some stuff, but I'm hoping like you've, regardless of your skill level, you managed to like take something away.
Exactly. No, well, thank you so much, Saint, for handing us this awesome masterclass on all of this. And guys, go out there. Like, if you guys sent in a picture on Patreon, go back on there and send us your homework that you have to do now. And if you're on IG and you're following this, take some good pictures again of your kits, different poses and everything, and use the hashtag GTSFam or tag the Gunpla Talk Show, and we'll check it out and see what you did using this. Just a reminder, guys, if you guys are patrons, remember to link your Patreon to Discord. If you link your Patreon to Discord and vice versa, and you're on our Discord server is already with the settings that it'll recognize that you're a Patreon, and it'll give you access to the Patreon lounge and all of that stuff. Consider giving a follow, consider subbing, consider a lot of things. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Saint, for giving us this awesome class, man.
Welcome.
Awesome. A lot of things to cover, like you said, but now it's in your hands to go out and show us that you learned something. This is Master Great Jess. Thank you, Origami Hobby, for sponsoring this, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks, Saint.